If you don't have a strong base, you can build as much as you want, but at some point it will go down. The last report that I read, only 5% of manufacturers in the UK are going over 50 employees trading from multiple sites, because it's very difficult to do that. And if you want to grow and if you want to be big, then you'll have to step aside and focus on something else.
Hey, I'm Martin. Welcome to the Manufacturers Make Strides podcast. Today, I'm joined by Adina Fetche, who's a manufacturing-focused finance and growth consultant in the UK. Adina's journey is really unusual. She started out as a teacher and trained in law in Romania, then moved to the UK and built her career through commercial banking. But then she ended up specializing in manufacturing business right in that post-COVID period when supply chains and cash flow were under huge strain. So what stood out to her then and still does now is the pride that manufacturers have in what they build, and how sometimes that pride can sometimes keep owners too deep in the day-to-day running of a business. So in this conversation, we really get into what sustainable growth looks like, and Adina shares practical ways to delegate without losing the quality that the business produces. And make sure you stay with us right to the end of this podcast, because today Adina leaves one of the clearest takeaways we've ever had so far on the show of a practical advice manufacturers can take today to improve their business. So if you've been enjoying the podcast so far, one of the best ways to support is by liking or subscribing on YouTube or by following us on your preferred platform. But let's get straight into the podcast now and my conversation with Adina Fetche. Excited to have this chat today. You know, I think you've got a really interesting background and will have a unique perspective for manufacturing businesses. Where are you joining from today? Whereabouts are you?
I'm joining from a small place called Hilling, which is in northeast Lincolnshire, also called as Humberside. And it's great to have this conversation from this place because this area is the home of some great manufacturers here. So we have steel fabrication, we have some great and very large precision engineering companies. We have some of the biggest food manufacturers, chemicals, pharmaceuticals. So yeah, this is a great place to talk about manufacturing.
Brilliant. So I want to get into your background of how you came into work with manufacturing companies. Before we get there, I would just like to jump in with a very strategic question, I suppose. So when you picture, that really plays to your expertise. So when you picture a manufacturing business that has been built for sustainable growth, what does that look like to you?
A manufacturer built for sustainable growth, I know that for some people will mean a lot of operations, a lot of selling, maybe multiple trading points. But actually, it just means something very simple, a very good base where to start from. It means some good systems in place, and not just systems, but systems that talk to each other. It means remove reliance from the owner, a good customer base. It's like when you build a tower out of Lego and you start with a small piece and you build, and then you want to make it bigger, you want to add some ramifications. And what will happen? The base will not hold and your construction will collapse. This is exactly with the businesses. If you don't have a strong base, you can build as much as you want, but at some point it will go down. And with the Lego towers, you can make that base stronger. Same with the businesses. You can go back to your base and look at it and rebuild it. So this is what actually means.
Brilliant. Great. Yeah, I like the Lego analogy as well. It helps me understand it. That's brilliant. Okay, so there's lots to follow-up questions within there, and I'm sure we'll get to that. But first off, what drew you to manufacturing and working with manufacturing businesses?
I was never looking to work with manufacturing. My background, back in my country, I used to be a teacher, a Romanian teacher. I also have a law degree, and I moved to the UK, and somehow I landed a role in banking. Very small. I build up on that. I can go in more details if you like. But I wanted to work with manufacturing when I landed a commercial role with a bank. And I was a basic role. I started to make some customer experience calls. I had customers from all the sectors. And manufacturing stood out somehow because I realized that the owners are very hardworking people, very proud of their work. Every time the conversations were about their work, what they did, how they built it, how they took over from a family business. And I also saw lots of opportunities to help those businesses. And when I saw a job as a relationship manager specialized in manufacturing with Lloyds Bank, I was very excited to apply for it. I got it. And this is how actually my manufacturing journey started. Yeah, so visiting all the production point is just, I said that this is what I really want to do.
Yeah, that's an interesting kind of introduction, to the industry with that kind of education kind of background then in banking. So in those kind of early years when you were in kind of working in banking and you were going out on those visits, what stood out to you, as kind of interesting when you were working with those customers?
So when I started to work in manufacturing, it was just after COVID, when manufacturing was a very struggling sector. There was those big problems with supply chain. I had a lot of clients struggling. They just could not run their businesses because of that. And despite all these issues, what stood out to me was their pride. They were so proud of their work. They were all of them, "Oh, we don't want a phone meeting or a Teams meeting. Just come over. I'll show you. Let me show you what we actually do." And all of them, they made time for me, received me in their productions, showed me things. And yeah, I've seen very big manufacturers. I've seen some small manufacturers, but all of them had that pride. We are doing something. We are building something here. This is something important. And you don't really see this in other industries. Because I work in other industries as well, healthcare. And yeah, this is just a job. This is my profession. But with manufacturers is something different.
Okay, right. That kind of every level of the business, people are really kind of invested in what they're making basically and what they're delivering. Is that what you mean?
Yes, and they are very passionate about what they are doing. And they are very proud to have things manufactured in the UK. And yeah, so they really want to compete with abroad products and want to make everything, like made in the UK.
Yeah, I got it. So did you see any kind of trends or what things kind of stood out to you about these? So your first introduction to these businesses, was that a challenging time? For everyone, it was challenging. For manufacturing companies, it was more so because of being lots of lockdowns, working in person had been difficult. So yeah, were there any things that stood out to you about the situation that they were in or how to be more successful towards growth at that point?
Some of them really managed to adapt to lockdown. They managed to create different shifts because, you could not have too many people in one place. But yeah, the most successful really managed to have a healthy cash flow. And this is the most important in manufacturing because we know that the cash flow cycle it's longer than in other businesses. And sometimes it really depends on you as a manufacturer, how long it's taking you to get that product out to the buyer.
Yeah. Okay. So based on that then, and kind of thinking about what you were saying earlier about the, needing a base at the bottom of the company, so that kind of financial management and strategy then, what did you think? And you were there in the banking role. So what was the kind of the best path to help businesses through that stage that you found?
So in banking, we usually were looking about lending money because this is the business about. But in manufacturing, it's not as easy to borrow money like it is in other industries because usually in bank, you look at debt serviceability cover. So normally in other business, you'll have to have 1.25 EBITDA. So the profit will need to be 1.25 to cover the annual loan repayment. But in manufacturing, somehow it's 1.5, which it's higher. Manufacturing has a certain type of risk, especially because there are all these challenges with supply chain, with maybe you have a customer that is buying more than others. Usually we will be looking at 15%, no more. It's a different risk in the bank, and we will be looking at the history of your financial history, usually 3 years. And what I learned in the bank, because I was always thinking, we are lending money today, you're going to pay tomorrow or next year. Why do we need to know what your company did 3 years ago? And then I understood that behind those numbers, we were been looking at trends and stories and decisions that took to a certain level of business. And all this you can see in the numbers, you can see in your customer's base. Maybe a customer left. Why did that customer left? It's about your pricing. It's about your service. Is this a risk? Will this impact some other future clients? Will this take the business in a point where you will not be able to pay the debt? Yeah, so I usually help the clients with the lending side. But then there was also the protection side, the benefits for the people. And we look overall at the strategy, and we wanted the businesses to be good, because only good businesses could borrow money further. So it was like a circle. Yeah, we supported good businesses. You wanted to thrive, so you can borrow money from us.
Great. So I have a couple of follow-up questions on that then. This is like a specific point of your expertise. It's not everything, but we'll get to the whole picture. So I think you're saying in that situation, you were really looking at the numbers to check if that business has like a sound business plan for the future of servicing their customers. Are they going to have revenue coming in to make the repayments? But also, I think you were saying, like, just as importantly, a sound cash flow management plan to make sure that week to week, month to month, they're going to be using the cash flow from the loan sensibly so that the business will still be there and to be able to make those repayments. Was that basically your point there?
Yes, we will be looking at the future and the forecast and everything, but also in the past to see what decisions you took in your business, and it's making the business that you have today.
So coming back to that, what you mentioned before, that maybe some teams have like an over-reliance on that one person, on that one CEO. If those two things are important, the good revenue plan and the good financial cash flow plan, what people or what skills do you think are necessary in a business to make that part of the business successful?
So first of all, you really need to have a good management. And if you're a very large company, maybe a middle management, you need to have very good people in sales to track everything. You need to have a good communication with all the teams in sales, in production, in management. These are basically the systems that talk to each other. And yes, people are most important in a business. And it's important for the people that you have, not just to have a job, but to believe in their job. And you as a leader, as a manager, as a CEO, you will share a vision. And it's very important that the people understand your vision and everyone is pulling into the same direction. And they all make their best to take the company at the level that you want to take it. And it's more important for people to understand the why. Why are we doing this? Why do we want to get there? Why do we want to work with a certain client, or why this client is not good for us as a business? This is the most important.
Okay, got you. So for that kind of founder or CEO, their more important role is setting the vision and setting the strategy, and then delegating the execution or the management across the team. Yeah. Yes. Okay. So looking back then, what would you say what early moments helped shaped how you think about building? Are there any specific people or stories that come to mind that really shaped how you think about working with people now?
My journey was very complicated and bumpy. And every experience I had, every job I had, every, book I read, every client I talked about something shaped me as I am today. Just if we just look at the professional side, because also you bring things from your personal side, from your friends, from your family, from people that surround you. But it was not an easy journey for me. So when I moved in the UK, I moved with 2 small children. I didn't have a job. I had some qualifications that were very good in my country, but I could not use them here. So I really wanted to make some money and convert my law degree so I can work here. Only it was not ideal because the solicitor here was not the same idea of solicitor in Romania. What I actually wanted to be was a barrister, and this implies some more complicated things to do. But anyway, I just took a job in the bank. I saw a job with Lloyds Bank as a customer assistant service. I applied. I went to the interview. I didn't get the job. I was so disappointed. But somehow, 2 weeks later, they called me and they offered me another position without an interview, without nothing. They just gave it to me because I did very well. But yeah, things happen in companies. And I did that. I was a customer service assistant for a few months, I think 7 months or so. And then we moved houses. We moved into another area. And it was a success for me, an unexpected success. I was appreciated by customers, by colleagues. And I just think, actually, I can do this. And I really like it, that maybe I can move forward within the bank. And when I moved, I said, I don't want to do this anymore. I want to go next level. So I applied for the next level to be a banking consultant, to do loans and this was in retail, and open accounts. I did that, but just after I finished my training, COVID hit. And it was a hassle. We didn't see any more clients. Then meetings over the phone started. And I also did that for a year or so. And I got very quickly at the level where I could say I could do my job with my eyes closed. I just got bored. I said, I want to do some more. And my manager said, why don't you go in commercial? Because you're very good with businesses. I was always attracted by the business side. Every time I had a client, I was just thinking, you have a business, and wanted to make a referral to the business team. And yes, I applied for a job with commercial banking, was customer support, where I did some client experience calls. I was very happy. It was very far away from me, but I was just doing the job from home. COVID changed the way we work today. And in that team, I wanted to apply for a higher role. I wanted to do more complex projects. But the manager said, I don't think you're ready for this because you're just a few months in this role. You're not early. And for me, every time somebody tells me you can't do this, I'm like, what do you mean I can't do this? Of course I can do. I can do anything I want. I can learn quantical mechanics if I have to do this. And I saw this job in a relationship manager, which was much higher from what I wanted to apply. Specialized in manufacturing was a sector I was targeting because I enjoy speaking to the owners and I like what I saw in the sector. I like the businesses, how they work, how they are organized. I applied for the job, I took it, and I just took wings. So all these experiences built something for me. I learned from everything, and every job I had made me be better, made me want to do more. I wanted to help more businesses, and everything shaped me in a way or another. And I think for everyone, each experience, it doesn't matter how small, the insignificant it seems to be, at some point in the future, we will recall that experience and we'll think, actually, I have this because I've done that.
Yeah, it's interesting. Even times that when you look back that were challenging, maybe at the time were a failure or were difficult, I think oftentimes they helped you learn something that have gone on to help you or assist you kind of further down the line, or have put you in a place today where you needed to be. So wow, that's a big journey that you've been on. How do you feel now, like looking back, about that time you put into your law qualifications? not being able to practice that over in the UK? Is that something you're frustrated by, or how do you feel about that now?
Not at all, no, because I really like what I'm doing now. So I left bank a year and a half ago. I started my own business as a finance broker, but lately, starting with this year from January, I'm only focusing on consultancy. So I'm only working on this, and I don't know how my life would have been being a solicitor or a barrister. I don't know if I would have liked to be surrounded by all papers, and because it's a lot of paperwork and contracts and all these things. But working with businesses, and especially manufacturing, which are more challenging and more complex than, let's say, a online shop or something, or a pharmacy, or I don't know, other businesses, brings me more satisfaction. And when I work with a business and they are in a certain point, they are struggling, they cannot grow anymore, and I find a solution for them, and they move forward from that point, it just brings me such a great satisfaction. Because since I have the children, and and everyone who has children know that everything, your perception and everything about the world change, everything is focused on your children. And I would really like to build a better society for my children. And I can't change the world, obviously, but with my work, I can contribute to make something, to contribute to make the society better. And good societies, they just don't happen by accident. They need strong economies. Strong economies need some even stronger industries, and manufacturing is one of those industries. Manufacturing is the engine of any economy.
You've stumbled across one of my favorite questions there. So I like to ask people what they think a career if a career in manufacturing does contribute to society. Yeah. So you've outlined that really clearly there. Yeah, that's really interesting. Yeah, okay, all right. You've had a really interesting kind of journey to where you are today. I can also see how your kind of persistence and determination to overcome obstacles is like really you've got like a perfect fit now, haven't you, with manufacturing businesses who have challenges to overcome themselves. So you've got that. So I can see how your kind of personality in this situation is a great fit. I guess also, did you start your own business because you were fed up of bosses saying to you, you're not ready for a promotion?
I kind of, yes. But the issue was that I was made redundant, and myself and other 90 people. And it was like a big hunt of recruiters reaching out to people from Lloyd's for other jobs. But somehow everyone had more experience that I have. And how all these jobs is how you need to have 10 years experience. You need to have 15 years experience. I don't know. And I couldn't get any job at that moment. And I just said, why I am chasing this? Why I'm looking to get a job? And the last job I had, it was not the best environment for me. The last months that I have there, I'm not going to go into details. But I said, I don't want to have a boss, especially because I had a small child. She was 1.5 at that moment. When you have small children, it's so difficult to have a job. You also, all the time, you have to ask permission. She went to nursery, and when they start nursery, they come home every week with bugs. And I was so tired of having a boss, although Lloyd's Bank is a good place to work and people are very nice and teams are very, very good to work with. But people are different at some point. And I said, if I can do these things for somebody else, to grow somebody else's company, and make sales and make profit, why would I not do this for myself? Because I am capable to do it. Why should I just chase that, which is not for me? Because I realized after that, I've seen people, I was made redundant twice in a year. What? I just didn't want to get in that stage. And it's nobody's fault, because companies get to that stage where you have to make a decision, a strategical decision for your business, and you have to go in one direction. And if you have to let people go, you have to let people go.
Funnily enough, I started our business in a similar situation. I I'd been working at a manufacturing company for 4 years. This was in about 2009. There were redundancies. I took like a partial redundancy, reduced some hours and started our business at the same time, worked there for a little bit longer, then eventually left. And it was a good, kind of opportunity push to start something that I was passionate about at that time. So, it can sometimes just give you a push in the right direction.
Sometimes it's not a bad thing. You just think it's a bad thing. Oh, I was made redundant. But actually, it's like the universe is telling you, this is how you have to do it. You don't want to do it. I'm going to help you. And this is what happens. These things comes. And I know lots of people, even from Lloyd's, lots of people started businesses very successful. And some people got other jobs and some people started their own business. I don't think anyone has any regrets about their next steps.
Good stuff. So tell me about more about what you're doing today then. So when someone contacts you or when someone works with you today, what do they usually need help with?
So usually they have companies that are growing and they get to that point where they cannot manage anymore. Maybe they are very owner dependent. So the owner does everything and they can't just take anymore because the day doesn't have more hours for you to do everything. They want to grow. They have opportunities to grow, but they just cannot. Some businesses, they just have cash flow problems and they don't know why. We are making sales. Our bank account is okay. But however, at the end of when we have our accounts back, we are not making money. So I work with these clients and I look at what's happening. Usually I start with the finances. I check to see what's happening there. I look at their systems. For manufacturing, especially, the ERP system is very important because you put everything in there, but some companies, they don't update it, and then you can find different discrepancies. Also in manufacturing, I'm very interested to know the whole process. What happens when you got an order from that moment until your money are into your account? What happens? What is the whole process? What takes? How much it takes? Why? Can we do? Sometimes I find bottlenecks in there. Too much time. I don't know. The invoicing is not sent on time. It's not chased properly. It's very hard to find a pattern because businesses are different and they have different issues.
But you think that by taking that initial look of the process from the start to the end, that kind of outsider looking into it can maybe see some of the key things that are making a big difference or that are problematic?
Yes, because sometimes you have processes that are not necessary to be there. I was working with a bakery, still in the manufacturing area, and she started as a small business. She was starting baking cakes at home, and she had a huge demand, and she got some people to help her, then got some premises, and she extended. And she had a lot of orders. It was quite a growing business, if we can call it like that. What she needed more time for herself. She wanted to do more business development and she wanted to develop recipes and all this stuff. She didn't want to go effectively in the kitchen and bake the cakes. But the problem with her was that she needed to check everything. The staff could not take any decision before her seeing. And sometimes she was having a call. She was just not there. And people could not move forward because she wanted to see all the process. She wanted to see how this cake is baked. I don't know, something like that. And the problem that I identified and the solution I came with was to train someone or more people to be there and to be able to take this responsibility from her. And she will not go in the kitchen anymore and check these things. And this was something that gave her a lot of time extra to do the things that she actually wanted to do. But sometimes the owners are very afraid that other people are not going to do the same quality work as I do. What if customer service will drop? What something will happen? They don't really trust the people they work with. And I think they don't do this. Yeah, because they don't allow them to do.
So Yeah, I wanted to ask a follow-up on this because you were saying earlier that a lot of the businesses are passionate, and with that passion comes like pride in the quality of what's produced. So I guess but they know there's a problem that involved in it. They want the different way of life, but is that can be quite a big shift in mindset, I suppose, for the person. So how have you approached that change in mindset?
So usually they don't have an option for this, because you either keep your business small, and some people just want to keep it small. That's fine. This is how they want to do it. But some people have this ambition to grow, and they have to choose. Some business is a place where tough decisions are taking place all the time. So you need to choose. You either do this, or you either let it go and you move forward. But what I usually set with my clients, we set a knowledge bank. So I want them to make a document or make a system where they will document processes, and they will document project they work with, and will put there what it went right, what it went wrong, what were the decisions we took, what would we change if we wanted to make it differently. And I want them to go back to that document all the time and look at it when they take decisions and think, are we going to do it in the same way, or are we going to do it differently? And when you build this base, you are going to have other people be able to work in the same way. You just document everything you do. I do this in this way. I want people who are looking after this task to do it in the same way I'm doing it. And the idea is not an original idea, because it's everywhere in textbooks, I guess. But when I have the idea to do this, I was just thinking about myself working in the bank. So when I was in retail bank, we had such a system. We call it our working Bible. And every time you wanted to do a process, you wanted to do something, you didn't know how to do it, you could have asked people manager, but everyone was so busy, and you would just go in that place, look, you had the steps, you do this, you take these documents, and you were able to do it yourself. When I moved to commercial, which was much more complex, we didn't have such a place, and it was such a struggle. And obviously, not all the relationship managers are providing the same quality service to their clients, because it's always lacking something. So this is what I was thinking. What if all businesses would do this, would have such a knowledge bank and a system built for this? This would be much, much easier. And if you have everything written down, you don't forget to teach your people.
Yeah. Okay. That's great advice. Yeah, that's interesting. What happened? What was the outcome for that client with the bakery?
Everything was fine. She didn't train just one person. So everyone who were working in the kitchen, everything was responsible for a task, learn how to do it. They knew they do it properly, but they did it properly. But was not necessarily the owner check anymore.
I'm not sure if this will make sense. A coach of mine once used to say that if a task is done by someone else to 80% of your standard, that's 100% awesome for you, because you don't have to do it, because it's not still reliant on you. So you don't need to demand that everyone does it to the exact same standards that you would. If it's outsourced and it's an acceptable standard, that should be all that you're looking for.
Yeah, so this is something I learned when I started work as a teacher many years ago. We had lots of paperwork to do. And one of the teachers, who was an old lady, she said, just let someone else to do it for you, just delegate this. And I said, but they are not going to do it as I want it to be. And she said, if somebody is doing it and you're not doing it, you do something else in that time, it means it's excellent. And I said, oh, actually, you're right. So this is something, I remember, and I carry with me from that time.
Yeah, great. Okay. I'd like to change tack slightly. We have a section called Myths and Truths. I'd like to go through those. I've got a few statements. Some of them are sensible. Some of them are a bit out there. Let me know if you think it's a myth or a truth. Finance only matters once growth has happened or started.
I think it's a myth, because finance matter in every stage of the business, in different levels, of course. And it really depends on your affordability as a business. but probably it's more important when you grow, but it's important in any stage. But I would like to mention that because we speak about finance and for us not to get in trouble, that we are not going to do any financial advice here, and every business is different. And if they are looking to borrow money, they will need to have a specialized assessment.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Simple habits often sit behind strong numbers.
Yes, I think this is a true one. You don't need to do very big things for your numbers to make sense. Even if you, let's say, collect your invoices earlier, it's a small, simple habit and can help a lot.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. SME manufacturers are often capable of more growth than they think is possible.
This is definitely true. They can grow very big, like any business, if you have the willing, the ambition, and you have the structure in place. I think we go back here to the manufacturer, the owner, Reliance, and the owner being very proud about their business. This is maybe one of the things that don't really let the manufacturers to grow too big. But no, they can, and we see companies that are very, very big, very large, and they just take the world by storm. Yeah, you just need the right people, you just need the right systems, and yeah, sometimes you need to be in the right place and the right economical environment. But no, everything is possible, and growth, it's something, sky is the limit.
Okay. Okay, that's very inspiring. Thank you. Okay, thinking about owners then, work-life balance becomes impossible as a business grows.
I don't know how to classify this one, because with some businesses can be true, for some businesses would be a myth. I don't really think about this, work-life balance, because when you are an owner, and if you are organized, providing you're very organized, you'll have moments when business needs you more, and then you'll have a quiet time when you will be able to step up. You just need to make this possible. You just need to be able to delegate, and you just need to be able to step aside for you to be able to do this.
By step aside, do you mean and enable other people in your team?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, but if you can't do this and everything is relying on your decisions, on your
that's
approvals,
where it takes over.
Yeah, then is no work-life balance at all.
Yeah, okay. So it's that delegation that's key at that point. Okay. Well, so stepping back can strengthen the business.
Yes. It really depends. If you want to grow it and make it bigger, you'll need to let it go and have people, because if you want to another trading point, you won't be able to be in the two places at the same time. And I think I've read the last report that I read, only 5% of the manufacturers in the UK are going over 50 employees trading from multiple sites, because it's very difficult to do that. And if you want to grow and if you want to be big, then you'll have to step aside and focus on something else.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. I appreciate that. That was a fun segment. You mentioned before about books. Do you have any books that you've enjoyed the most, or recommendations that are maybe related to this topic that you've learned some good lessons from or have influenced you?
Well, I've read all these very known books. I don't know, Atomic Habits and what else is on the market. But lately, I'm just reading consulting books. I'm reading now. I read it before a few years ago, but it didn't stuck to me as it is now, because now I'm more interested in consulting. It's called Dangerous Company. It's an old book. Not necessarily applies to our days, but it's a book written by some journalists from America, and this is deconspiring the big consulting firms, how they wanted to help businesses, and actually those businesses collapses because of their advice. And it's very interesting to see that usually you only see positive things. Consulting is so good. Yeah, I'm doing consulting work, but yeah, you need to be careful what you advise and what people take as advice, because sometimes can be dangerous.
It can go right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That's interesting. I haven't come across that. Of the businesses that you've worked with, do any spring to mind that you're most proud of, either the outcome or your time kind of working with helping them?
Businesses I work with, every business I work with had good results. I wouldn't say I've changed the business completely. I didn't change the word, if I can say. But I really like a business I worked with. But this was when I worked with the bank. It was a business owner. They were It was from electronics manufacturing. It was a business. He took over the family business, and what I really liked it was that he knew all the numbers. He knew all the orders they had. He knew everything. He was so involved in the bit, but he had a management team. He was not there every time, but somehow he knew everything. And they were opening an office in Thailand, and he didn't borrow any money because it was a company that didn't want to borrow money. But yeah, we managed to structure some few things there, and I really like that businesses how it worked and how it was built as a. I think it's a model for the industry to run the business in this way.
Yeah, so understanding the kind of the top level key numbers, but still being able to delegate the responsibility across the team.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Brilliant. Looking ahead as your kind of career in consulting grows, what things do you enjoy? What part of it do you enjoy the most, and what are you looking forward to getting involved in?
I enjoy very much when I find a problem when I find a solution for the problem they have. Not all the time people will take your advice, because at the end of the day, people pay for your advice. What they do with it, it's their problem. But sometimes I come across people that say, oh, I don't want to do this. I'm just going to do it my way. And then they'll come back, oh, actually, I'm going to do it in your way because my way doesn't work. But I like to have people that are very open and say, okay, I want to do this. I like the idea. I want to explore this. If you are open-minded and open to change, I think it's opening another door for your business growth. And it just gives me such a great satisfaction when I can see a structure put in place, where I can see that people actually take action and that something it's improving into the business. This is the most satisfying from everything.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, that sounds really good. Yeah, good luck with that in the future. That sounds brilliant.
Yeah.
Thanks for your time today. This has been a really interesting kind of eye-opening chat. I really appreciate it. If you had to give a final takeaway, what would you say is one thing that SME founders or owners could do tomorrow to help build the company for future growth? What would one thing they could start doing today?
I think they should run their companies like they are looking to sell it in the future, in the close future, even if they don't have any intention. Because if you think when people sell a company and they say, oh, it has this value, and then someone comes and says, oh, you can increase your value if you do X, Y, and Z. So what actually you do? You have a clarity on your finances. You tidy up your operations. You bring people that are specialists and not generalists. You remove yourself from the business because you don't want to sell a business that is relying on you. Nobody's going to sell it. Is no business if the business is you, actually. And if you put all these together, will create a better business for you. So if you think about this and you want to sell a business, why would you like to sell a good business? And why would you not want to run a good business and have it for yourself? So this is what I think everyone, starting from tomorrow, they could look into this and change the way they think about their business.
Okay. Yeah, that's great advice. Yeah, set that as a goal. Put the things in place. If you decide to get that point and you do want to sell the business, you're in a great position. If you get to that point and you find it's just such a pleasure running this business, you may just decide to keep in the business, but it's transformed in a better way.
Yes, and it's also an advantage for you because you You don't want to sell your business, obviously, but you never know what happens. Yeah, you have a business partner and you just don't get along together and they want to leave. And what are you going to do? You want to sell the business. Yeah, illness. So nobody wish for this. I don't know, divorce, death, all these things happens and you have to sell the business and then you'll get less than your business actually worth just because it's a bit messy and you will not have time to fix it, because fixing these things, you need at least 8-12 months. You can't just do it from a day to another.
Yeah. Okay. Brilliant advice. Thank you, Adina. Really enjoyed this chat. What's the best way people can get in touch with you or find out more about what you're doing?
Well, I'm very active on LinkedIn. Lots of people can find me there. I answer to all my messages. My company, Ellcado, also has a website. It's www.ellcadofinance.com. I also run weekly newsletter, which is called Business Unfair Advantage, where I give lots of tips about how to grow your business and what actions you could take from tomorrow to make it better. And if people want to join, they will learn lots of stuff from me, from my experience working with companies, working in the bank, working as a broker, as I've been on all sides, and I have this view from different of the table.
So if you're enjoying this episode, please give us a follow on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. That would help us to keep bringing authentic manufacturing conversations with the people who are shaping our industry. Thank you. Excellent. It sounds really, really valuable. We'll drop the links to all of those things in the podcast description. Yeah, that sounds great. Thanks very much for being on the podcast today. Yeah, thank you, Adina.
Thank you.